There is a saying, even when an elephant is in trouble, a frog may kick him. We are in trouble, yes, but certainly not ready to fall. Across India, disloyal princes rise up against what they see as a weakened East India Company. An opportunity to strike and feed on the great beast's carcass. Yet they will find not a humbled elephant, but instead a lion. Across the continent, company men are trained and put up against the poorly equipped stooges of the power-hungry, routing them from Ceylon to Kashmir. We have tried to work with the princes for far too long. It's time we brought them to heel. In the East, the Asian Alliance has formed, an amalgamation of developing countries who have the gall to claim they are a match for the West. It would be funny if they were not so determined, even going so far as to conquer Brunei and threaten the shipping lanes through the Malacca Strait. Their continued existence is a threat to the company trade and dominance in Asia and must be stopped. Our naval and military rearmament has begun, and once finished, our might will wipe them from the pages of history. Back in Europe, the motherland is locked in an escalating situation with France, which could turn to outright war at any moment. The two old rivals were still locked in contention over their great colonial empires. It is not a good time for London to be looking inwards, but such a conflict seems unavoidable. The company itself has undergone a dramatic change in recent years, as much of its new wave investors and shareholders come from India itself, or other colonial regions of the empire. This is the British Empire's century. We must preserve this for the company and Her Majesty, Queen Victoria. This is a role-playing game of Victoria. I hope you enjoy. So, given that obviously Europe's in an absolutely massive cataclysmic war, we're fighting the last rogue princes in India, the ones that haven't bent the knee to us essentially. So we're doing very well with that. We do have a very strong military, a very advanced one for Asia at least, and we're having no issues overwhelming them. So we're going to be in pretty good shape. We have this massive Eastern threat. I mean, potentially we could, if we want to go independent from Britain, cooperate with them, and then we'd be very strong. But given that the East India Company is very elitist, very Western, it's primarily ruled by, obviously, elites from England, there's no way we would do that, right? Because racism, among other things. So we're kind of in a really weird middle ground right now. We really need explosives. We may work on chemical plants, but we, in the past, haven't had access to sulfur. One of the reasons we're pushing so hard for Jaipur right now is there are huge amounts of sulfur mines there that will allow us to build a giant chemical industry of India, which, given it's a very produced high-value good, which is really just in extreme demand in the British market right now, will allow us to really also build up that market for us. Again, we're role-playing essentially a corporation. There's a board of directors, there's a director, it's all about the capitalists and the shareholders. Every policy and every action we do will really just be based on profit. That's about it. All right, we have completed the conquest of Jodhpur from the princes there that have fought back against our rule and British rule. We're going to begin to properly incorporate that under the East India Company. And we'll also do the same for Awadh and Baluchistan as well. And Ceylon. We'll get them all out of the way right now. We have an absolutely huge administrative core, so we need to make use of that. We put a lot of money and effort into getting people educated to fill those positions and not import them from England, so. A spat of train robberies have been committed by daring gangs all across Delhi, threatening law, order, and the pursuit of wealth all across the strait. We'll send in the marshals, hopefully deal with that. It's interesting because it got started around the rivalry between the British and the Spanish when they were at the height of their empire. The British were just constantly raiding their ships and stuff like that. Same with the Portuguese, huge rivalry there. And the Brits realized that there were just these huge markets, obviously, in Asia. It was known about because the Spanish and the Portuguese were bringing back so much wealth, obviously. But the Brits didn't, I think, ever realize up until that point that they had the capacity to really oust the market share. And the way they did that was piracy. The early East India Company and how the British Empire established it was literally just piracy. The East India Company originally was one half pirate, one half actual company. So they just raided the shit out of ships. They were famous in the early days. I had read about this, but I read a bunch more about it recently about how in order to get the market share over here in Asia, obviously, the Portuguese and Spanish had way more ships, way more connections locally and stuff like that. The way that they did it was just straight up naval battles and raiding. Despite England and Spain not formally being at war, and the same with Portugal, English ships had a habit of like, they would trade, right? But then what they'd also do is just go raid like the plantations and factories the Spanish and the Portuguese had in Asia. And then whenever they spotted Portuguese or Spanish ships, they just like, instead of trading with locals, they just fucking raid the ships. They capture the ships, as was common at the time, and steal all their goods, which literally brought in a fortune. Like the economy of England was drastically increased just due to taking like Portuguese, you know, good ships with spices from Asia, or obviously Spanish galleons bringing gold back from the New World. So the economic growth of England due to that is just absolutely batshit wild. And funnily enough, I didn't know this, the way that the English originally got in the good graces of a lot of the princes of India, I think including the Mughals, one of their emperors was really impressed with the English. You know why? Because they just beat the shit out of the Portuguese. Like the Portuguese had almost like an exclusive trade deal with a bunch of the Indian princes. All they did is trade in the forts, that was it. But the English showed up, and there was like a famous battle, I think it was over here, or it was off the coastline of India, where a bunch of English ships like basically just set upon like a group of Portuguese ships, and I'm talking big military ones too, and beat the shit out of them with a much smaller force, captured their ships, stole their goods. Instead of the Indian princes being like, hey, don't do that, they're our trade partners, they're like, oh, okay, we should be trading with the English. You guys are weak. So the English managed to negotiate a bunch of like really good trade deals with the Indian princes and stuff like that, which obviously led to them wanting more and more and more, and invading Bengal eventually, of course, and expanding and stuff. But yeah, the way the East India Company and like Britain established itself in the region is just... Greetings.
Greetings, am I speaking with Mr. Churchill?
You are. I also have with me here the Honorable Terence Lane. What can I do for you?
Well, I come with worrying news. I'm a representative of a rum state called Japan approached me in London, and they made a quite outrageous offer. They made an offer that the colony of Malaya should go to the Siamese instead of the British.
They indeed. And
they constantly presented themselves as if they are a great power, and we find it quite insulting. And
as I was just telling Mr. Elaine here, those uppity Japanese don't know what's good for them. I was just saying so. I hope you would agree.
Ah, yes, I do. I'm considering, well, the government right now is considering some more aggressive actions against the Japanese.
I'm glad you say things how we do. I have been of that opinion and made it clear very to you that we need direct action in regards to the Japanese in the region. However, I do know that the crown is obviously, and the government of Britain is tied up obviously with the upcoming hostilities in Europe.
France backed down, unexpectedly.
They backed down?
Yes.
That is most surprising.
They even go as far and told themselves they're part of a so-called Pan-Asian alliance.
Well, that we know very well about, and it is true. Many of the powers of Asia have worked together and conglomerated. However, I am confident that if the company was demilitarized properly and cooperate with the British government, we would be more than capable of destroying them on land and sea.
So are we. The only question remains then is, when is the company ready?
I think that we'll need to undergo a mass militarization of our country. As you know, there's a huge deficit strategically within the British economy of important strategical goods to the military, such as explosives and railways, which we are attempting. Perhaps in 1872, we launch a military action.
That is a good time frame. Can our soldiers dig trenches there? Is that good territory for that?
Trenches? The hell is that?
We have something new called.
Yeah, do you want to put in like latrines?
Say again?
Are you talking about latrines for the soldiers?
Yes.
Trenches?
Trenches. Yes.
I would hope that you would build bathrooms for your troops. I mean, it'd be disgusting if you didn't.
Not bathrooms. They will literally build, like, they will dig in the ground like 2 meters deep, or 4 inches for the trace, and entrench them there. It makes it harder for the enemy to conquer territory.
That's a silly notion. That'll never catch on. That's silly. We'll keep the typical strategy. So we'll march our men into combat the way the Empire has always done. So such things are laughable. But do as you like.
Well, the Ministry of War has suggested using trench infantry, but I might reconsider.
The French and the Belgians are fighting the Germans and the Austrians and Spain. There is a major European conflict, but the British stayed out of it. Wow. So it's Germany, Austria, and Spain versus France and Belgium. Okay, we have enough ships now. Navally, we'll destroy them because us alone has 60 flotillas. We're going to probably have another 40 by the time the war starts, so we'll have 100. The British have 175. So we can actually see how strong they even are navally. They're still using men of war. They don't have ironclads yet. The Japanese also don't have ironclads yet. Thailand doesn't even have a navy. Doesn't even have a navy. And then Korea might actually have ironclads. They also still have men of war. So technologically, we've got ironclads. The British have torpedo boats, I think. They actually have submarines now. Oh God. They have fucking monitors and torpedo boats. Yeah, so the British Navy is absolutely terrifying. So I don't think we won't have any issue in the naval war. The question will be, can we hold them in the mountain passes? That will be the question. It's just started, but it looks like the first couple battles the French have won. Yeah, they're winning everything. Whoa. Trench artillery, shrapnel, scouts, and field hospitals versus skirmish infantry. Oh no, Germany. They're using Napoleonic warfare against trench warfare. That would be the problem. That would be the problem. The Spanish are using line infantry. Oh no. And the skirmish infantry. Oh no. Strategic mistake. Fuck. They're not gonna win that war. There's no way. France is gonna beat the shit out of them. So the Germans and their allies have 143,000 have died. 100,000 have been wounded. It's cost them 2.7 million. On the Belgium and French side, only 35,000 are dead, 92,000 wounded, and the cost is a little bit higher at 2.9. It's a lot of people. The government-friendly relationship with Great Britain and an infamous country of a horrible reputation has been the subject of sharp criticism and strong rhetoric from leading opposition candidates. We're literally their puppets, so we'll keep cooperating with them. Is India company industrialists are interested in making investments in neighboring Persian industries? Sure.
Greetings, we have a problem regarding our plan.
How would that?
I just noticed that the Japanese have a defensive pact with the Russian Empire.
That is concerning, but to be fair, the Russians are rather backward as well.
Then I make a play for starting off with Malaya.
Mm-hmm.
And
We don't. All right, yeah, I'll start putting troops on the line. They're gonna have a lot, so get your boys out here as soon as possible.
Yep. I'll make that right now. Wait, why is Russia in this? I told him he's not. He told me he's not helping.
It appears that the Russians are now an Asian country. They're no longer a European power.
Yep.
We'll push in Malaya though. You're on offensive in Malaya, right?
Yeah.
Good. And here we go.
Here we go. Let's see how it goes.
Naval
Yeah,
battle. Destroyed it. Oh wow.
I mean, look what I have.
Oh boy. There goes one of the big Japanese fleets.
Yeah. Jesus. We should look. This
is historically accurate. This is exactly how this. They sent a massive amount of their troops here. Look.
Yeah.
The Qing just reinforced. All right, naval invasion of Japan. What do you think?
Yes. I set it up right now.
They're back in Malaya somehow. I don't know how they did that.
Did you naval it maybe? No, that can't be it.
I don't know. They just magically got some. I'm sending forces back down.
Yeah, same.
I got no. Keep your naval invasion up. I'll handle it.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, you are at the front there. Nice.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
They're invading.
Oh, okay.
He has no fronts there. He's putting everything now in his home country.
Did you get pushed out, Quasi? What happened?
Yeah, because the front split and then yeah.
Try a naval invasion of like Kansai in the middle, and then we can open up 2 fronts that way. There's an uprising in Borneo. Keep attacking there. I'm about to back you up and navally invade Formosa too. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I have more men. I win that, and I should win that naval invasion.
I'm hitting them too at the same time.
Yeah, you're winning this as well.
There we go. All right, let's do. Yeah, we got it. Formosa's taken. They opened another front somehow in Malaya again. Just heads up.
They're attacking Formosa again.
How is this?
I think naval invasions.
It could be. We do patrol coastline. Yeah, I'm gonna try and reinforce it, but I don't think we'll get there in time.
Yeah, we're both depending. Yeah, it works.
Oh, I'm getting pushed back hard.
But I'm winning.
What I'm gonna do is I'll let you take the offensive, and I'm gonna put my divisions to back you up, but I'm gonna put them all in defensive so we don't have that stuff where like we just get overwhelmed by them.
Yeah.
Let's see if that works.
Also doing another naval invasion in Malaya to get it back. Because we have the war squad taking against us right now. Fix the thing with the cooldown.
There we go. Alright, let's go.
Yeah, let's go. And I'm pushing. Can you send him like in the other front? It's 0-0, yeah.
They're getting it too quick. Fucking hell. Yeah, I'm sending all my troops are gonna be there to defend, so I hopefully can just move them back and forth as needed here. Just hold out.
So it never goes above 5.8%.
What
the fuck?
Bro.
What? No, that can't be.
That's ridiculous. There were like 100,000 troops defending. Oh my god, the fucking fronts, dude. How long?
They're still holding out. The game is just running pretty slow right now.
Russia's sending all their troops there as well, so be warned.
Yeah. And the game ended. Or like the war ended.
I'm still in this war by myself.
Oh, same. Oh, same. Same.
Wait, what?
I don't know. Shouldn't be.
What the fuck?
Fighting that war was physically painful.
That was monstrous. It fucked me up pretty bad.
Yeah.
So what we need to do right now is obviously we lost the war with the Asian alliance. We'll just say there was an economic crisis within the British Empire that resulted in obviously just the complete inability to maintain the quality of the troops. All right, so again, oh boy, we're real deep in the red. I don't know if we'll survive this at our present course. I'm privatizing a lot of markets. We're privatizing basically all of our businesses right now is what I'm doing. We're running a deficit because we have to. I'm trying to get us the motor industry that we need to basically make the trains run. One of the biggest issues with our economy and country right now is we have lost all of our infrastructure due to not having enough trains in the British Empire. This war and us leaving the market again just destroyed the British Empire. We're like roleplay wise, what we're doing is we're basically selling all of the company's assets to make them privately traded. So the company is just liquidating assets across the board to try and get in the green.
With the loss of the empire against its enemies, another much larger sell-off of company shares began, at first one by one, but quickly becoming a torrent. Company stock dropped over 70% in a day, as trading was stopped in the United Kingdom and assets frozen. The economy and nation collapsing, the director handed in his notice of resignation, and a shocked board chose the unthinkable. In order to preserve the company's future and that of British India, a vote was held near unanimously to formally give up company holding of the continent and to sell off most of its assets to private ownership, as well as to the reformed East India Company. With the vote complete, it was not long before British troops were seen marching into Calcutta to formally take over administration of the city and country. As the flag of the EIC was taken down for the last time, despite this change, things look grim for the Empire's future. All of this had been happening in the background of the Pan-Asian War, which has seen the slaughter of millions over nothing more than the British perceived outlook of encroaching interests. Both the company and the British had every technological and strategic advantage, but had assumed the longer war would harm their enemy more than them. What happened instead was the London stock market collapsed to 74, which many had dubbed the catalyst for the empire's end. Whether this be the case or not, it is undisputed it caused the East India Company to fall. The board of directors vote to dissolve the company and pass over rule to the British government was both an act of desperation and greed. Artificially lowered asset prices for company possessions were auctioned off to many of the directors, primary investors, and friends of company men. The Home Government and Her Majesty's government did not intervene, as many were large holders in themselves, making the whole situation legal. What made this a problem was not that it happened, but rather that it had been done on racial lines. Englishmen and a few Dutch and American investors were the only ones offered entry to the closed-door sell-off, which angered many of the recently enfranchised Indian stakeholders to a frenzy. News of the sell-off of their entire country spread quickly throughout the Indian continent, the still barely functioning railroad built by the British helping to expedite their fall. Local leaders, aristocrats, and religious leaders of all faiths spoke loudly and publicly against the event, causing an uproar almost everywhere. Protests began at first, which quickly turned into full-on riots and the breakdown of both British and local governments alike. 3 days after the greatest asset liquidation in human history, much of which had been auctioned off was either burned, damaged, or liberated. As the age of the East India Company in India comes to an end, there is hope for many, but in reality, no alternative is in sight for now. There is nothing but anarchy and societal breakdown. This is unfortunately the end of this series, due to Victoria 3 being very unstable and making our save no longer playable. I hope you found this series entertaining. There will be plenty more like it to come. Thanks for watching.